had to log in, and it said sync, I was like, I have no idea.
I know, I saw that one time too, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it.
Oh, that's what I did.
So now we can
Yeah, I got it. It just confused the heck out of me. I thought, I must
So
do
now,
something.
so now the other one that had the big green circles and all that, we can put it back for that.
Maybe it's 6:45. Maybe I'm barely alive. Maybe you're taking my shit for the last time. Yeah. Maybe I know that I'm drunk. Maybe I know you're the one. Maybe I'm thinking it's better if you drive. These girls like you run around with guys like me just sundown.
Yes, 1, 2, test.
Oh.
Oh, I got this from Mary. The microphone's fine. For the department meeting.
Do we have a listing of your functions for executive session?
Mrs. Rep, the one that's in the folder, is that one leaving or staying?
Your choice.
Okay, gotcha. Oh my gosh, I'm a mess right now. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Is this on? We good? Okay. Sorry, my ear's still a little bit plugged up here. All right, good evening. It is Monday, May 6, 2019. This is at 7:01 p.m., a regular meeting for the City of Woodland, Washington. If I could please get everyone to please silence your cell phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Fredericks.
Here.
Councilmember Rounds.
Here.
Councilmember Plaza.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Here.
Councilmember Humbert.
Here.
Councilmember Graham.
All right, Councilmember Graham has some family business that she needed to attend to. She reached out yesterday and this afternoon. Chair will accept a motion to excuse Mrs. Graham from this evening's meeting.
I make a motion to excuse Mrs. Graham.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Humbert. Will the clerk please take the roll? Or take vote? Either one. Okay.
Councilmember Plaza.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin.
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
All right, Mrs. Graham has been excused. See if I can. I'm a crazy person right now. This. All right. I have a few things to read this evening. I appreciate everyone being here this evening. I know that some of you are probably here to, I see a list of folks that want to get up and speak. So we'll get through the presentations and everything first, and then we'll get you up here. But it's nice to have an audience for when I get to stand up here and talk to everyone. So thank you. I appreciate that. First this evening, I'd like to call up Mr. Willis. And where are you? Yeah, come on up. And Mr. Ken Young. And Rick. Oh, we've got, stand right over here. It was brought to our attention here. Mr. Young.
Yes.
Nice to see you. Welcome. Thanks for coming out this evening. Appreciate it. Good to see you. We'll stand right up over here. So it was brought to our attention that someone may be leaving. Is that correct? Greener pastures, I hope. Mr. Young has been with serving us here in Woodland with waste control for a number of years. How many years would you say?
Since 90.
Since 90.
Since we took over the contract.
Okay. So there's going to be some change in some connections here. So we appreciate the time that you've spent with us. So we've got a token of our appreciation here for you this evening, and then we'll let Mr. Willis step up and speak for a few moments. Are you prepared to do that this evening? Just real quick. All right. So Mr. Young, if I can get you to step by me here. So Ken Young, Waste Control, and appreciation of your dedicated service to the citizens of Woodland, presented this 6th day of May 2019, and that's me. That's my name right there. Yes. So we appreciate all the time. I don't like to say my name. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all that you've contributed to the community. We really appreciate that. You're going to be missed, but hopefully you're going off to do something fun.
Yes.
Yes.
We had 7 grandkids. So.
Okay, good for you. All right, we're going to step right up over here. Some gentlemen want to get in here. Let me give this to you.
Okay.
I'm not going to keep that.
1, 2, 3.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Willis real quick here. Get things out of the way.
Thank you. And that was a surprise. We didn't know that was coming. I got to tell you, the other cities haven't done that yet for them. So
We like to be best.
that you are,
We
and
like to appreciate our people.
and that's why Ken always says he loves clown or clown. Sorry.
Want to get away?
Take the flag.
So sorry. That was. Rick is going to be taking his place. Rick has been with us for even longer than Ken. So Ken gets to retire first. Not sure how Rick feels about that, but he'll have to get over it. It truly is an honor to serve your community. We have been doing it. We've been in business for 70 years. This will be our 70th year. We took over in, I think, 1991 when Don Schatz wanted to sell. And it's been a privilege. I love your community. You guys are very close-knit. And I think it's because you're kind of off away from the rest of the county people. But I love that. I think it really bodes well for you. And I just want to say thank you for letting us serve. And we won't miss a beat with Rick. So thank you.
Got big shoes. No pressure.
And thanks for the plaque. That was very
No
honoring.
problem. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. We appreciate all you do for us as well. You help us more than you know. What was this next one? Sorry, I just got off a plane. I'm sorry. I can't hear anything. My ears all plugged up. Where's my? Here we go. I've been traveling forever. I just want to make sure I'm doing the right one next. Do you want to come up with me? Okay. All right. Perfect. I'm going to go up. Is there anybody else in the room that can come up with me? Yeah, come on. Somebody's got to come up here. Mrs. Rip. I'm going to be hanging all by myself up here all the time. Not what you had in mind. I know. Come on. That's all right. Oh, was Gina here? Oh. All right. I have a proclamation this evening for Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th through the 11th, 2019. That's why I have Mrs. Rip up here with us. I'm sorry that Gina didn't stay behind. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas it is most important that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk, now therefore be it resolved that I, William A. Finn, Mayor of the City of Woodland, Washington, do recognize the week of May 5th through May 11, 2019 as the 50th Annual Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal clerks, Mary Rip, Gina Anderson, and all the City of Woodland clerks, and to all municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. And witness thereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Woodland, Washington to be affixed this 6th day of May 2019. Thank you for all you do. We couldn't do it without you and your team. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Every day, it's a battle with an office. More importantly, it's a bigger battle with government, as most of you know. So we appreciate the time and dedication that the folks that work for our beautiful city put into it every day. So thank you very much, Mrs. Rip. All right, Mr. Mario and your team. Who's here this evening? Come on up. Ray? Good to see you. Good to see you. What happened? Oh, we saw each other in the hallway. So give me a minute. Gosh, I'm the worst at this job. I really am. I try so hard. I apologize for that. Well, we were chatting out in the hall. Just so everybody knows, we were chatting out in the hall. We met each other in the parking lot and ran in together because we were both running a little bit behind. So, well, see, I just threw you under the bus with myself. Yeah. All right. Chief, do you want to join us up here as well? Yes, you do. Come on.
My doctor said I'm not allowed to be on TV. Again?
It's
I know, it's been too much the last 2 weeks.
You've been too much last 2 weeks. Chief, it's good to see you.
Oh, hey, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, good to see you. Come on, join up. Join up. Here we go. All right. I have one more proclamation this evening, and it's for Police Officers Memorial Day, May 15, 2019, and National Police Week, May 12th through the 19th of 2019. This is a hard one. Before I start, it's been a rough few weeks for our region. And this is, well, obviously this one hits close to home for me. So I'm appreciative of the jobs that each and every law enforcement agency across the nation, but more importantly, I'm very appreciative of the work that those in the state of Washington do in of our beautiful city.
Including yourself, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. Thank you, I appreciate that. So this one hits close to home, and more importantly, I think that it hits close to home for all of us over the last month or so. So I appreciate you being here this evening, and I'll get started here. Whereas to recognize National Police Week 2019 and to honor the service and sacrifice of those law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. And whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the City of Woodland Police Department. And whereas each year there are approximately 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers, resulting in nearly 16,000 injuries. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 21,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including one member of the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Department on April 14, 2019. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 371 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 158 officers killed in 2018 and 213 officers killed in previous years. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 31st Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2019. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of National Police Week, which takes place this year on May 12th through the 18th, and some events will take place before the official dates of Police Week in 2019, so please be aware of that. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. Therefore, be it resolved that I, William A. Finn, Mayor, do formally designate May 12th through the 18th, 2019 as Police Week in Woodland, Washington, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and communities across the nation. Thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it. Thank you. You bet. That one on there. I'm going to turn it over to Mario now.
The Woodland community is truly blessed. Having been with Chief Kelly at the scene when we lost Deputy Justin DeRozier, accompanying the chief to do notification to mom and dad. You've got a community that has quality police officers, and I want to emphasize quality police officers. These men do their job, and they do it well. They do it without seeking retribution. They take a lot of abuse sometimes, and yet they perceive and they just project that professional image straight down the line. You should be very proud of your police department. I get to work and have the privilege of working with the State Patrol and every other law enforcement agency in this county and several other counties, and I can say without a doubt that the quality of law enforcement that you have here is just as good as any place else in the state, if not better. I'd like to take this moment on behalf of the City Council of Woodland, the council members, and the mayor to present this proclamation to Chief Kelly, who can post it in his department for his officers.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Here, I've got one for you. Here we go. You want to take this? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, at this time, I'm calling in an executive session for the Woodland City Council. Under RCW 42.30.110, Section 1, subsection I, potential litigation. The time is 7:16, and we'll be in session for approximately 15 minutes.
And you can download another great coupon and earn 2 times the fuel points Thursdays through Sundays. But hurry, it's a limited time offer and restrictions apply. Visit fredmeyer.com for details. Fred Meyer, what's on your list today?
Spring is in the air, and it's a great time to head to the Fred Meyer Garden Center. You'll find big savings on everything you need to get your garden ready for the sunshine. Right now, you can brighten up your yard with Confetti Garden or the Joy of Gardening mixed hanging baskets in the 12-inch pot. They're just $27.99. Plus, you'll find great deals on seeds, plants.
Get something for yourself, too. Find the perfect look for every occasion with 40 to 50% off select Liz Claiborne women's apparel, shoes, and accessories. Hurry in and save a whole lot extra this Mother's Day when you shop at JCPenney. Offers valid 5/6 to 5/8. Credit offer subject to credit approval. Exclusions apply. See store at jcp.gov for details.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here or here.
All right, it is 7:48, and we are back, or we are out of executive session and back into regular session. Next up on the agenda this evening is citizen communication for items not on the agenda. I have no one signed up at this time. Now's your opportunity, if you failed to do so at the beginning of the meeting, to step forward for items not on the agenda. Seeing no one. Moving on for items on the agenda. Citizen communication for items on the agenda. First up, we have Mr. Steve Madsen. I can get you to step forward, state your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes to speak. And I'm going to keep everybody on track this evening because we have a number of folks that have signed up. Okay?
Thank you. My comments are very brief. Steve Madsen, General Counsel, Aho Construction, 5512 Northeast 109th Court, Suite 101, Vancouver, Washington, 98662. My only comments are procedural in nature, and specifically, there's been a extensive record developed through the Planning Commission, and I just want to confirm tonight that that record carries through to these proceedings for purposes of standing, exhaustion of remedies, any other legal arguments that hopefully don't but might come up in the future. That record is invaluable, so I just want it on the record that that is the record so that we don't have to resubmit.
Okay.
The other request, I guess, is that, or just question is the record going to be closed tonight?
Depending on, well, I should have made this announcement before. City Council will not be answering any questions from the community tonight, so I'll be your point of contact. It's possible, depending on the action that's taken throughout the meeting, it's possible it could stay open. It's also possible it could be closed this evening.
Understood. It's just very helpful to know kind of when the finish line is. So.
And I can't answer that because the policymakers will decide.
Of course. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Madsen. All right. Mr. Benno, you are up. If I can get you to state your name and address, and you can have 5 minutes.
I thought I had a 3-minute speech, so I can talk a little slower.
Yes.
Anyway, my name is Benno Dobbe and I live on 1066 South Peking Road. Dear Mr. Mayor and City Council members, thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to express my response about the proposal for an amendment to the city's Woodlands Comprehensive Plan. Based on recommendations from the planning commissioners, after many public hearings, you will make a decision on what you feel is best for the future of Woodland. It is quite understandable that people in our community have concerns of possible impacts when an additional residential development will materialize within the very near future. However, I don't appreciate when this concern turns into a finger-pointing situation, in particular towards two family dairy farmers, namely Donald and Ferguson, who started their farms well before most people became residents of Woodland. Both families deserve a lot of credit for their contribution to this community for all those years they have run their dairy farms. It is said that due to economic reasons they needed to sell all their cows last December. No one should blame farmers that they want to sell a portion of the land which they can't afford for farming purposes any longer. A housing development on land owned by the Ferguson and Donald families and on approximately 45 acres we own on the south side of Whalen Road makes good sense for the future of Woodland. Please keep in mind that all the farm properties on the east side of the railroad tracks in the Woodland bottoms are currently zoned 5-acre small holdings. For all those in opposition of a residential development in this zoned area, please understand that the farmers in question are allowed to sell their properties in 5-acre parcels, and that any buyer of such a parcel is allowed to use it for any purpose, including industrial purposes. Don't underestimate the consequences if this would take place. I remember our entire neighborhood was up in arms when the county wanted to zone this same area industrial. Woodland can't ignore the need for additional housing. A development on the west side of Interstate 5 will benefit the downtown area. It will attract more businesses on the northwest side of Woodland, such as on Schuurman Way and Tony's property. No one can take the right away from the farmers who want to sell their land. Also, no one has the right to force these farmers not to sell their properties in order to save our bottoms. By the way, do people in our community...
Sorry, please, Mr. W. is speaking.
By the way, do people in our community realize that there are still thousands of acres of farm properties on the west side of the railroad tracks that will stay ex-zoned, all considered woodland bottoms properties? A 5-acre smallholding development is quite unattractive in our area and will mostly help the county's budget, while an additional housing development, similar to the Tsukawa development of some years ago, when included within the city limits, will help Woodland's much-needed tax revenues. It will also be good for many who will be able to live very close to their current and/or potential future employers. I encourage you to approve the latest AO proposal, which includes Donald, Ferguson, and some of our property, and amend these properties to the City of Woodland's comprehensive plan. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Joby. And you nailed it with 323, so good job. All right, next up on the list, we have Miss Margaret Foss. Please step forward, state your name and address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Margaret Foss, 670 South Pekin Road. The only thing I have to say is, at the last meeting, Mr. Plaza asked if Mr. Goddard could write a letter to Cowlitz County. Has that happened yet? And have you seen it? And are we going to be able to get a copy of that, the public, so that we can look at it?
Okay.
That's
I
all
can
I
certainly
wanted to
ask
say.
when we get to Mr. Goddard's portion of the meeting this evening, I can certainly have that addressed.
All right.
Do you have
Fine.
any additional comments other than the question?
I do think that the woodland bottoms, that if farmers can't farm anymore, they really need to sell it to other people that can. That to turn it into housing means that it'll never be farmed again. And, you know, woodland, we read in the paper today that they've already, 2,100 acres in Ridgefield is going to be developed. So how much housing do we all really need here, okay? I mean, Vancouver has tons. Woodland, leave it rural. Everybody likes it rural. And we have a traffic issue, so till you solve that, we're in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foss. Mr. Goddard, are you able to answer the question?
I'm sorry, I must have missed that. I had a conversation with the county and I went down and met with them, but I don't remember committing to send a letter, a formal written letter. And if I was asked to do that, I apologize because I did not do that.
Okay. Thank you. Seth, is it hauling or hailing? I'll have you step forward and state your name and address, just make sure, because I'm sure I got it wrong, and then I'll give you 5 minutes as well.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Seth Halling with AKS Engineering, here on behalf of Aho Construction. Address is 9600 Northeast 126th Avenue, Suite 2520, Vancouver, Washington 98682. I'd like to speak this evening to a few of the more technical aspects regarding this comp plan map amendment, including transportation utilities. In addition to Planning Commission's recommendation, I recommend the addition of parcels WB 251-15001 and 60086 to the UGB. And those two parcels are identified on the plan that was submitted as this one and this one here.
Scott,
These two.
Okay.
The economy of scale will play a large role in the development of this area because of the magnitude of developer-related investments for infrastructure, including the water and sewer distribution facilities, any pump stations for both sewer and possibly stormwater, other stormwater facilities in the streets located within this area. With this knowledge, I believe that including parcel 60086 in the UGB will better distribute the infrastructure costs to the additional homes, and which will result in the more affordable housing within the city. And exclusion of parcel WB 2515001 from the UGB will result in a rural landlocked parcel with no access to a public street except through future city streets. This parcel also abuts DNR land to the south and 2 5-acre lots to the east, none of which are likely to develop in the near future. Also, the parcel abutting to the west was recommended by Planning Commission for inclusion into the UGB. Therefore, it's illogical that this parcel would also be included. It is critical that the city plan for future residential growth in order to be in compliance with the comp plan. And in order to do that, must be proactive with infrastructure planning for water, sanitary sewer, stormwater, streets, recreation, schools, and emergency services. The capital facilities chapter of the city's comp plan indicates that the city has enough capacity to provide public water and sanitary sewer for treatment and storage purposes. There will, of course, need to be expansion of the distribution system, and much of that is developer funded for within the project. And we understand there's a lot of concern regarding existing transportation issues, especially that at exit 21. As council is aware, a study has been funded, and it is critical that this study include, any expansions planned, so that way it is appropriately designed to incorporate those additional trips. And if it is not done now, it'll become a bigger issue when the city looks to grow in the future. In summary, I believe it is beneficial for the city to include the 2 aforementioned parcels to appropriately plan for the city's future. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up on the list, we have Mr. Dave Weston. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Dave Weston with AKS Engineering on behalf of Aho Construction, 9600 Northeast 126th Avenue, Suite 2520, Vancouver, Washington, 98682. I'm here tonight to provide input on the topic of where the city should propose their future residential growth. This decision is critical to city planning and is needed to accommodate the comp plan's projected growth, as well as the city's comp plan map being in compliance with the city's comp plan text. By expanding the UGB, the city will provide much needed land for affordable and livable neighborhoods. Expanding the UGB to the south is really the only long-term solution for residential growth in the city. Most of the land to the southeast, east, and north of the city UGB have already been divided into 2 to 5 acre lots, which makes this development, which makes development of the urban densities difficult and inefficient. The lands to the north and east have significant critical areas constraining, including steep slopes, landslide hazard, floodplain habitat, shoreline, and wetlands. The city has already decided that the west side of the city in UGB should be industrial. So that's out. Residential growth has and will continue to occur in the bottoms and under the jurisdiction of the county. This will result in small rural lot subdivisions, which the city gets no funding for, yet they get all the impact. Those small rural lots that I mentioned that are on the east side that were developed under the county's jurisdiction are one of those reasons why the east side of I-5 is not practical for development. In addition, if the land to the south of the city develops, under the county, the lots and infrastructure may not meet your standards. In summary, I believe that the future residential growth will need to occur in the bottoms, and I believe that it is important that the city be proactive with the planning of this area. I'd like to thank staff and council for your time and contributions to the community while considering this application. And no questions, so have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Weston. Next up, we have Houston Aho. Thank you. Mr. Mel Aho. Thank you. That is the end of the list. Is there anyone else in the gallery who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting? Now's your opportunity to speak to items on the agenda. I'll have you state your name and address and give you 5 minutes.
Hope Koistinen, 311 Hillshire Drive. I think you're well aware that the residents of Woodland inside the city limits are opposed to a lot of residential growth. I think you'd be wise to look at your comp plan, revise the residential growth. Residential will never improve your revenue. Tell me one city that has gained any revenue sources that has not cost more in expenses. It will happen. I used to work for a city. I worked for a city for 30 years. I can tell you that's the case. And let me just tell you, I've not heard a single person speak bad about either the Donalds or the Fergusons. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the gallery who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting? Now is your opportunity to speak on items on the agenda. All right, seeing no more. We've moved to the portion on the agenda for approval.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
All right, the agenda's been approved. Moving on to reports of City Council.
Okay. Public Works met,
Wait.
this,
Not report. Any events you've...
I always want to jump in and tell what we did, but, yes.
You have something to say, Mrs. Rounds.
Yes, I do.
All right, fire away.
I attended the golf tournament for the food bank last Friday. So did the chief. It was a nice tournament, and I think they made about $3,000 more this year than they did last year.
Oh, wow. That's
so
amazing.
It was really a nice tournament.
I think last year's tournament paid for holiday dinners, I think.
Yeah.
I think they pulled in quite a bit
But
last year.
they had quite a few golfers out there
Good.
and some very nice prizes. And I won 2 Mariner tickets, so.
Was Mrs. Graham there?
No.
Oh,
no,
that's why
she
you
wasn't.
won.
That's
why
right.
you won. I gotcha.
So,
Just checking.
But it was a nice attended
Good.
event.
Good. Thank you. Mrs. Humber?
I attended the park board meeting. Horseshoe Lake Management gave an update, everything as well. Scott Hill Park and Sports Complex, Sandy Larson gave us an update, the things that have been completed and what's going to happen in the next phase. The flagpole in Horseshoe Lake now has a solar light. The Port of Woodland is going to put, the Port of Woodland grant is going to put electrical outlets within the park so that we can have people that want to do like food carts and those kinds of things, which is kind of exciting. And the grant from the Port of Woodland also paid for the Eagle Park borders and the wood fiber chips.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, we won't talk about that one. Was nothing that really dented the city for that one. That's good.
I think we're going to hit that one later anyway. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
No, it just says.
Oh, that was. All right. Seeing no more. Moving on to reports of standing committees. Mrs. Rounds,
Yes.
you're up.
Thank you. The Public Works met this evening at 5:30. And we talked on the water, we talked about the booster station project. The plans and specs completed and reviewed, out to bid this month. Open bids in June, anticipated start in late June. Water service line break on Pacific for Safeway. Water line is fully repaired. Sidewalk formed up and waiting for concrete this week. Lift station plugs, vacuumed out lift station 3, 6, and 7 with the help of City of Vancouver. Streets, Old Pacific Highway and utility improvements. Rob V. reviewed and had recommended updates and has coordinated with RB Engineering. Hope to get out to bid this month. Street sweeping, sent the county a request for being done in May in time for Planners Day. Torch down, on track to complete Davidson and West Scott Avenue by end of month. Facilities, police station, we're on the list to send out the RFP for the interview room for soundproofing. City Hall, last section completed and asked them to rebill at prevailing wage rate. Horseshoe Lake, finishing one park sign for painting update, new signs ordered for Horseshoe Lake Skate Park. For all the donors that gave money, they are finally getting an actual final sign. So,
Nice. Nice.
Gorig Park, Northwest Steel Headers came in and did a cleanup. They did a really, really good job of cleaning up over there, so. On other, Public Works luncheon is May 19th, lunch at Horseshoe Lake Park on Wednesday, May the 22nd. Downtown, working on something for Tour of Honor for downtown, looking for funding and support. ADA transition plan. It's kind of on hold right now because of the budget. Training, half of the crew going to first aid CPR May 9th. Forklift training completed for all April the 12th. Combined chainsaw safety with the Port of Woodland coming up. Garbage, we are prepping for county sweeper in May. On grants and miscellaneous, the CWCOG Hoffman Street funds, we're still working on that. Exit 21 traffic engineering traffic study, met with Kettleson and Associates regarding the job. They're off and running on looking at the full scope revision and scheduled completion by year end. There was a lot more, but I'll let Tracy talk about that. So the meeting ended at 6:30, and the next meeting is next month, June, and I don't have the date.
It's going to be June 3rd.
3rd.
That sound right?
Yes.
Okay. First one, my little calendar here. Yeah, we're really going into June here. Jeez. All right. Questions for Mrs. Rounds? All right, seeing none. Public safety.
Public Safety didn't hold a meeting in April as we had a lack of a quorum. Our next meeting will be May 20th, 4:30 Police Station Training Room.
Okay. Thank you. Human Resources.
Our last meeting was canceled. Our next meeting will be on May 20th at 5:30 here in the council room.
Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to reports of advisory committees. Mrs. Graham is not here to speak on the Chamber of Commerce. Mrs. Rounds, are you
I was
able?
trying to think.
Or Ms. Humbert?
Just trying to think what's happening with it. The legislative session is done. Woodland made out like a bandit. About all of the projects that were submitted were funded, thanks to our legislators up in Olympia.
Absolutely. I've
so
got a
what
whole
else?
list of the ones I know about.
Speaker
Anyway.
at our last meeting was from the
Colch
senior
com-
cit-
Yes, Colch Community spoke at our last meeting. The Planners Day apprentices are going to be there tomorrow.
Make sure you bring money.
Yes,
money, bring lots of
exactly,
money.
Exactly.
Scrolls up.
I can't think right offhand.
I think that was the
I
majority
wasn't
of it.
prepared.
Yeah,
Pardon?
that's the majority of it.
Yeah.
That was the important part.
Yeah, so,
Budget's been passed and session's over, so good.
Yes.
yes.
All right, so no more phone calls. Is
Right.
there
No
is there
more phone
a
calls.
wrap-up meeting or anything like that for those phone calls?
They are going to give them a little bit of time
Okay.
to rest because they were late, but they worked really late that one evening. But we will let the council and everyone know when the next meeting that we're going to have for a wrap-up.
Okay. Mrs.
Oh,
Rett?
you might want to mention the location of the meeting?
The location of the meeting is now being held at the Grange Hall.
Oh, okay.
And it's a bring your own sack lunch. They have coffee and water there for you. So
Okay.
until further notice, that's where we'll be meeting.
Okay. Perfect.
Is it possible to have staff provide us a list of items that the legislature funded for Woodland?
I'm going to bring
I
those
wished
up.
I'd have had that.
Didn't we?
Yeah,
got
I'm
it,
gonna.
didn't we?
Yeah, I've got it. I'm gonna.
Well, it's in here, but it's not, it's what the House adopted, Senate adopted, and then was finally enacted, but I didn't see one that was specific to Woodland.
Well, if you're gonna
unless I missed it.
I've got it right here. Is that all for?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Humber for Callis, Buckeye, and Council of Governments.
Meeting was held on April 25th. We had a very large turnout, which was wonderful. We had a speaker from the Spirit Lake Project, the Forest Service, who gave a very in-depth of what's going on up there, what's happening, what isn't happening. We had several county commissioners, the county commissioners were there, and several representatives from state legislators. So hopefully we'll get the things that are needed, and the things that need to happen will be funded. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 23rd, 12 o'clock at the Callis County Event Center.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Humbert? All right, moving on to legislative. As stated, the Washington State budget was approved 2 minutes before midnight on the 105th day. So that's good news. I think this is the first time in a long time that they did not extend past the 105 day during a long session. So that is good. And I did receive an email with a small list of items, and I'm going to. Do not make me steal your thunder. No, I. How about it? I won't speak to Public Works. We'll let the Chief of Public Works, Ms. Coleman, discuss those. So I'll go slow so I don't touch on those. So there's more to this list, but you'll get it during the Public Works report. Woodland Community Swimming Pool / YMCA, $805,000. No. Scott Hill Park, $500,000. Woodland Community Library, $515,000. And this is all money coming in from the state to help fund projects. And Yale Valley Library, which is we consider our family here in Woodland, our extended family outside of Woodland, received $300,000. So that's exciting news for them up there in Yale, for the valley there. That's good stuff. There are some other things on these items, but I'm going to defer to Ms. Coleman to discuss that, which I'm very excited about that portion of the list as well. So Woodland's going to be looking pretty good here this year. So we appreciate our legislators in our district for rallying behind us and pushing forward on those, and the other legislators here in Washington agreeing that we should get that money. So thank you very much for that. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. It's good stuff. A team of people out there, not just up here, but there's a team of people in this community that are out there and are looking out for our best interest and trying to drive us forward. Downtown Woodland revitalization.
We're meeting quarterly now, so we haven't had a meeting. I believe our next one is scheduled for May, but I don't know that we have a date yet. Yeah. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Moving on to reports of city officers. I'll go first because I'm listed first. Very excited. You're probably going to talk about it, but I got to talk about the flagpole on City Hall. Were you going to talk about it tonight?
No.
Okay, good. So I can talk about it.
I'll let you go.
I got to tell you, so I'm a West Sider. For those of you that don't know, I live on the West Side. Love it over there. But I love the new flagpole. Thank you for doing that. And that was with a generous donation to buy the historic flagpole that used to be on the old post office. We received a grant to buy that, and Ms. Coleman and her team have shined it up, put new flags on it. They had it installed finally, and it looks amazing. It's the first thing you see when you round the corner, and it's well done. Thank you for doing that. It really enhances downtown and City Hall, and I seriously smile every time every time I turn the corner off of 5th. It's good stuff. I love it. And our meeting was cut short. Well, actually, we didn't have a meeting on the 15th. We had to cancel it due to some situation that transpired here in council chambers. So there was one thing that I wanted to address on the 15th, and that was the recognition of Mrs. Rip on the 10th of April. We didn't get a chance to celebrate that during council, so I apologize for that. So I'd like to recognize Mrs. Rip for her 30 years of service here for the city of Woodland, and we did have a luncheon for her on the 10th. We just didn't get a chance to share that with council. And some of you showed up, but we're very appreciative of all your efforts, and we appreciate you. So thank you for providing your family to the city and yourself to the city for the last 30 years. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. And with that, I'll turn it over. I've been traveling. I don't have a whole lot to report, so I've been Mr. Boyce. Mr. Boyce has been taking the brunt of everything over the last couple weeks.
So I'll too keep it brief because we have department reports. Some highlights I wanted to mention is we have a WQCC meeting scheduled for May 22nd. It's a Wednesday here in council chambers at 6 p.m. Staff is currently working on an RFP to deal with 100 Davidson Avenue. We're going to work on that RFP and then get it to the mayor for his approval and then eventually to council. June 20th, we're meeting to negotiate with the clerical Teamsters. As you know, we've been off several months. Our attorney and their business rep couldn't get a date. We're hoping we can finish in one meeting. I'm trying to be positive. We're very close, so I'm hoping that happens. Along that line, we've also executed the new Public Works Teamsters contract, so that's in full effect at this point. I was going to talk about the legislative awards, but I'll let that go. That's all.
Sorry, I stole Mr. Boyce's thunder. I was trying not to.
Everyone wants to talk about it.
Everybody wants to talk about it. Everyone wants to talk about it.
For sure. Okay, with that, notice on liquor license renewals. We have the AM PM Mini Mart at 1039 Lewis River Road, Molly Thai at 1251 Lewis River Road, Woodland Liquor and Tobacco, 1230 Lewis River Road. And then we have a non-retail, it's production cannabis license renewal, RDH, 931 Gorg Road. Upcoming city community events, April 20th through May 12th, Lilac Days are going on. May 11th, the VFW breakfast at the VFW, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m.
Can I add to that?
Please.
Blueberry pancakes or biscuits and gravy, scrambled eggs, sausage, orange juice, and coffee, and Mom eats free because it's Mother's Day.
Oh, nice. Is Mr. Bill cooking?
Yes,
all
Mr.
right.
Bill is cooking.
All
I'll
right.
wait on you.
All right.
All right. On to less fun items. The Planning Commission meets on May 16th at 7 p.m. I shouldn't say that. Some of those are fun meetings. May 18th, the Luska Foundation Living History Performances. I'm not sure where that.
Luskas.
Okay. May 22nd, AWC Webinar Series, Public Sector Resource Management. May 27th, Rotary Culpeper Circus is going to take place at Horseshoe Lake Park, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. May 27th, VFW Memorial Day service will be happening. May 31st and June 1st, the Moose Lodge Fishing Derby at Horseshoe Lake Park. June 8th, Laluska Foundation Living History Performances. June 13th through the 16th, Planters Days. June 25th through the 28th, AWC Annual Conference in Spokane. June 28th, the Rotary Golf Tournament. August 3rd and August 4th, Y Racing Triathlon at Horseshoe Lake Park. August 9th, the Chamber Golf Tournament. So that's all I have this evening.
Questions for Mr. Boyce?
No, but I did for the chamber. I did think of one.
I made a small list. We've been so dang busy that I forgot to mention a few things. So go ahead.
I did want to mention that I did attend the after hours for chamber. out at Holland America Bulb Farm. He always puts on a nice after-hours out there, and it was very lovely. And we all got tulips, which the tulips were just exceptional this year. The Rotary always gets tulips, and it's one of their fundraisers. And we had people just rave about the tulips this year. They just really were nice. So.
And I'm trying to remember, I received flowers for some. Were you giving out tulips somewhere else? Where did I go recently that I got some? No. Oh, no. Thank you for being a good partner to the community. I cannot remember where I got those, but they're always there. Anytime there's an event this type of year, Mr. Dobie is always there passing out flowers, so thank you for that. Where else did I see? I saw you at a fundraiser recently, too, I think. You're everywhere.
All the clerks received flowers from Councilmember Graham.
Okay. Wow. Yes, it was. It was clerk. It was.
Administrative professional.
Yes. And I still owe everybody lunch.
She said that on behalf of the entire council, right?
Sure, right. And yeah. I delivered to the police office and to Public Works flowers.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Look at you.
Thank you for representing us.
You signed my name on the card, right? So there was just a few things I did. We did have a groundbreaking. We were very busy on Friday. What Friday was that? That's 24th?
Yes.
Friday the 24th. Groundbreaking for the new Red Canoe credit union that's coming in over by in the Walmart complex there by the Taco Bell. We also had Arbor Day, where Public Works, you're probably going to talk about that too, I guess. I was there, so sorry. A number of trees were donated by citizens within the community, and you can give a list of the businesses. I'll let you have that one. Yeah, I know. And we read the proclamation up at the water treatment facility right above us here, and then we came down and out here, when you're leaving the parking lot here, off to the right, there's a brand new tree there. There's a plaque that's been created, and Public Works has done a wonderful job cleaning up that area. But we had a tree dedication for Deputy DeRozier out there that day as well. So we have a plaque that was made in his honor. So that will be coming. So once that's completed, I hope everyone will take a look at that and appreciate the time and sacrifice that our law enforcement gives us every single day. Mr. Randolph.
Nothing report, sir.
All right. Mrs. Ripp.
So in front of you is the Clerk Treasurer's Department monthly report. We've had another busy month. We've prepared the fourth quarter budget amendments and are getting ready to complete the 2018 annual financial report due to the state auditor by May 30th. We did have a special meeting on April 22nd at the Woodland Middle School auditorium, and so that coordination took some planning, and that was completed. In your packet, you'll see some of the RFPs, other notices that we prepared, and then grants, contracts, and such that we processed. Also, as Pete mentioned, we distributed the contract for the Public Works Division, and that was settled, and we processed the retroactive pay that they agreed on. We onboarded our new part-time clerk, Heather Ferguson, in the Clerk Treasurer's Department, and we've advertised for the vacancy, and we'll be advertising for upcoming 2 members on the Planning Commission. Those will be coming up in June, so stay tuned for those applications. At this time, you have to be a city resident to apply for that commission, but we will have those posted on our website. The Safety Committee is working on reviewing the hearing conservation program and policy. We've prepared updates to the active threat and workplace violence policy and getting that ready for the Safety Committee review. And then we have our CPR first aid classes for city employees May 9th this week. That's the first of two opportunities. We'll be attending webinars on backflow and the payroll portal in May, and then we'll be getting those installed soon. Working on the Finance Committee agenda, there's a number of items on there. We processed one large public records request, installment number 1, with probably some more to follow with the help of the Planning Department. And that's, like I said, a huge request related to the comp plan. We processed supplement number 35 from Municode, and that will be updated and received shortly, and then the website will be updated as well. We've also demoed with 3 vendors for our city website, and we'll be making recommendation to the Finance Committee next week. We processed vouchers, payroll, and accounts receivable for the month, of course. And then we did our RFQ for the indigent attorney services. 3 proposals were received, and the final action is on tonight's agenda. Also working on the clerk treasurer department assessment, staffing schedules, cross-training plan, facilities needs, and met with employees over this last week. That'll be forthcoming to the mayor and the council. We're working on the utility rate study and preparing a lot of documents to get over to the FCS group. And also documentation and stuff for utility, sewer standby charges. We're looking at the ordinance policy on the map and working with Public Works on that. We are in process of issuing 4 retail stand fireworks permits. I received 2 more today to get issued, and then 1 display permit for the Planners State Committee. There was a change to our code back in December, and so we are trying to get that word out to the permittees so they're aware of it. And not this year, but the following year, we will have change in dates for when you can let fireworks off and also purchase them.
And the question is going to come. We have 4 fireworks stands this year. And that is due to population increase. Is that correct?
We did last year too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had 4. I thought we only had 3 last year, but we had 4.
We have 4.
Okay.
Yeah. We're working on a number of special events and facilities rental, and most of those were on the event list there that you saw. And then we, some training and events attended. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to be attending the FBLA Champ Camp at Heritage High School for our area youth. I'll be participating as a judge for students that are going to be going to nationals. And we'll be celebrating this week, Municipal Clerks Week. So.
Questions for Mrs. Ritt? All right. Thank you, Mrs. Ritt. Chief Kelly.
Well, April was a busy month for us. Your police department impresses me every day with the teamwork that they provide, especially during a critical incident, but I'll get to that in a minute. We had 2 officers fill in as acting sergeants for sergeants on vacation at the beginning of the month. Donnie attended our Safe Kids conference, or the meetings that she does monthly, and continues to do a great job representing us at those community events, and the community encompasses the entire county. Officer Casey and I did a high school presentation for the 4th and 5th Amendments of the Constitution to help students understand that. Carla Heiler facilitated the Spillman upgrade. She also attended Access Technical Advisory Committee training. And about the middle of the month is when we had stuff go awry for us here, which got us really busy. Team 8 responded to the officer-involved shooting in Kalama that you're all aware of. Officer Moore, Officer Swenningson, Officer Gibbs, and Sergeant Keller were at the scene when the shooting occurred, or shortly after the shooting occurred. In the meantime, the Team B, Sergeant Lipp's team, filled in and protected the city while we were involved in that very tragic situation. That's when teamwork came together. We took care of business, and it didn't matter who was on days off. It didn't matter who was on time off. Everybody came in and pulled their weight. I worked very closely following that tragedy. I worked very closely with the Behind the Badge Foundation, and they activated our incident command system, using that model to facilitate the enormous event that took place following this tragedy. I was assigned as the operations chief after a request from Sheriff Thurman and Under Sheriff Allman to fill those duties. And as a note, I wanted to thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Boyce, for allowing me the opportunity to help out the Sheriff's Office with this tragic event, as well as the honor bestowed on Deputy DeRozier with the memorial. It was a daunting task, an enormous responsibility put on my shoulders, and I think we pulled it off. We did really well. But without the support of you, Mr. Mayor, and you, members of the council, and our staff with the city, I wouldn't have been able to do that. That's where our team came together and took care of business while I was gone. I'd come in the morning at 6:30, 7 o'clock, take care of what I had to take care of, signatures and whatnot, and then disappear for the day. But I was always available by email and cell phone, so that if something did occur in the city, I'd be able to respond. But the members of your police department understood the enormity of the task that I had in front of me, and allowed me the privilege of being involved in something. So I guess, I don't know, it was just an honor bestowed on me to coordinate with outside agencies all over the state of Washington, as well as across the river in Portland, and many of the allied agencies across the river that were there offering support and coordinating, just because I knew the sheriff had his hands full. I tried to field as many phone calls and emails and requests that I could. We've had our field training officer meetings. Things are going well. Your newest officer is doing very well. He's now in phase 3 of his field training. He's got one more phase to go, and we can take his training wheels off and send him out by himself. And we're hoping to do that in the middle of June. Just this month, just a few days ago, I advertised for our detective position, and we'll be reviewing, scoring the application and resume packet that they're required to submit, and then we'll conduct an oral interview and pick the best candidate to represent our department as a detective. Donnie Connor continues to do great things with as a car seat technician, and attends regularly the monthly car seat checks that they do at College District 2. And she also participated in Safe Kids Day, which was a countywide event. So that's it. That's my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Kelly? Thank you. Appreciate all your hard work. I know it wasn't easy.
You were there.
What? I know. Yes, I know. Thank you for the reminder. And thank you for pass along our thanks to the police department as well for stepping up and helping out our allied agencies. I know that they would do the same for us. That's clear. So we appreciate all the hard work that they put into it as well. Mr. Jackson with the Clark County Fire and Rescue is not here this evening. Mr. Goddard.
Thank you very much. So,
Can I interrupt her for a second? Sergeant Keller's out looking at vehicles. There's a 2018 Dodge Ram registered to Kimberly Kuhn that's parked on East Scott Avenue. Can you make an announcement to have it moved, or should I hang a ticket on it? Please.
We'll excuse you, Ms. Kuhn, to move your vehicle.
I don't know. The sergeant's out there with it right now. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
So,
sorry.
So on the building side of the house, we've had a couple projects that are close to being done. In the Ace Hardware store, the garden center is now open for business. Little Caesars in the Shell station should be opening pretty soon if they're not open yet. They got their final food inspections and sign done, I believe it was last week. We issued the building permit for the truss plant on Sherman Way. We have 3 projects with building permits on Belmont Loop. We also have the Dutch Brothers got their building permit. We are still working with them to get their final engineering for their public improvements finished. So we're still struggling with that, but they're making progress. And also the Red Canoe, their building permits are so close to being issued, it's frustrating for staff as well as the applicants. So we're working with them on that. Just got to get some signatures. On the land use side, we approved the subdivision of the Kimmett commercial property. It's the Verizon site across from Taco Bell. So they got approval for a 3-lot subdivision, and hopefully that'll be recorded in the next couple days if they have not already recorded it. We have AMPM is coming in for a third design, so they had an approval under Brad Kilby, and then they did a second version with me last year. It looks like they're coming in with a third version, so you wonder why there's so much work. Sometimes it takes the applicant 3 or 4 times to figure out what they actually want to do. So hopefully we'll be working with them in the next couple months. We've had a couple pre-apps for 38 residential lots. That is really good news because last year we created a total of 4 new residential lots. So we haven't had any residential subdivisions, significant residential subdivisions for almost 6 years now. And we've issued no residential building permits so far this year, so we're already getting pretty late in the permitting season. We also are processing the binding site plan for Liberty Evans. They should be going to the Planning Commission in June, and they should be before the council first meeting of July. The Carpenito Brothers Industrial Project has been submitted for review, but they are kind of on hold while they're completing their traffic study, but we should be seeing that pretty quick. I will be coming to the Finance Committee with a impact fee discussion. The Woodland School District has updated their capital facilities plan, and they have a request for the city to change its impact fees. So that will be coming before committee. Also, the wireless communication facilities, which was completed by the Planning Commission last year, should be coming to the City Council for review hopefully next month, as soon as I can get a chance to get that staff report and ordinance prepared for you to review. On the Planning Commission on the 15th, there's a couple big ticket items that they will be discussing. One of them is the zoning text amendment, or a code text amendment that has been requested, and that is to consider alternative forms of housing, specifically year-round living in RVs, tiny homes, and container homes, and how our code treats those. So that is going to be up for discussion. And also, the Planning Commission wants to discuss developing a work plan for how to proceed with zoning plan unit development, subdivisions, and code cleanups. Because now that the comp plan stuff is done, there was a lot of stuff that they wanted to get back to so that they make some progress. Also, I needed to point out that Mary Parsons, who is our part-time code enforcement officer, has been doing a great job. She has got a lot of vegetation maintenance compliance done. Even though she only works part-time, she does twice as much work as me in half the time. And the Hanson Motel, if any of you have noticed, she applied some strategic pressure at the right time and ended up getting that taken down in very short order, and the site looks great. So if you see Mary, thank her for that, because that was monumental. It looks great. Also, I need to point out that Janice continues to keep the building permits moving, and she's been gone for the last couple of weeks. So I need to thank Melissa for filling in, answering a ton of phone calls, and helping people with the counter. She's been really great at learning stuff really quick, so if you get a chance to come in and talk to her, I encourage you to do it, because she's got great energy and verve. So I appreciate that very much.